We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 37b. This daf is sponsored by Alexander Rosenfeld in memory of Willie Rosenfeld. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amud or a daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous Amud, the Mishnah asked if you're going to say, meaning to say, if the witnesses are going to say to themselves, after we intimidate the witnesses, they'll say, Ma'alonu l'tzara hazos, what do we need all this trouble for? Why are we bothering to testify in this case if it's so serious? V'halo kvar nemar, so we say to them, it already says in the pasuk, v'hu eid o ra o yada im lo yagid v'gomer, that it's a sin. If a person does know testimony and he does not testify, that itself is a sin. There's an obligation to testify if you know testimony about this case. And the Mishnah continues, V'shema tomer. Now maybe you're going to say, meaning again, maybe the witnesses will say to themselves, Malonu lachov b'damo shel zeh. Why should we be responsible for spilling this person's blood? We don't want to testify in this case, and now this person is going to be liable to the death penalty. And the Mishnah says to that, V'alo kvar nemar, the pasuk says, Ba'avod reshoim rina, that there is song, there is rejoicing when the wicked are destroyed. You will not be held responsible. You will not be guilty if it is a guilty person that is put to death. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ketzad me'omed, how does the court describe to the witnesses testimony that would be conjecture? That's the kind of testimony that is not allowed. Omer lahen, they say to them, Shema kach re'isem, maybe you saw as follows, Sherotz achar chaveru l'churba, somebody ran after his friend to a rune, v'ratztem acharav, and then you ran after him, u'mitzasam sayif biyadu, and then you found him with a sword in his hand, v'damu metaftef, and blood dripping, v'harag mefarfer, and the person who was killed is convulsing. Im kach re'isem, if that's what you saw, lo re'isem klum, you didn't see anything. You have to see the actual act of murder, otherwise it is not accepted testimony. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a Bryce, Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach says, Ereb nechama, I should see in consolation. This means to say that I shouldn't see the nechama, meaning to say he's taking an oath as follows, Im lo ra'isi echad sheratz achar chaver lechurba, if I did not see somebody that ran after his friend to a ruin, v'ratzti acharav, and I ran after him exactly as above, v'ra'isi sayif biyado v'damu metaftef v'harag mefarfer, I saw the sword was in his hand, the blood was dripping, the person who was killed was convulsing, v'yamarti lo, and I said to that person, Rosh, a wicked person, mi hargo lazeh, who is the person that killed this person? O ani o ata, it's either myself or you, either I'm the murderer or you're the murderer, and I know I'm not the murderer, so I know you're the murderer. Aval ma'esa, but what can I do? She'in damcha maser biyadi, your blood is not given over to me. Sharei amra Torah, because the Torah says, al pishnayim edim yumas hameis, a person can only be put to death through two witnesses. Somebody has to actually see the act of murder. I didn't see that, and therefore I cannot testify against you. Hayodeya machshavas, the one who knows people's inner thoughts, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yifra me'oso ha'ish sheharages chaveru, he should pay back that person who killed his friend. Amru, they said, lo zazu misham, they didn't move from there, ad shabon nachash v'hikisho v'meis, until a snake came and actually struck that person, and that person died. But the Gemara continues, V'hai bar nachashu, but is this person deserving of dying by a snake bite? V'amar Rav Yosef, but Rav Yosef said, V'chein tani devei Chizkiah, so too was taught in the yeshiva of Chizkiah, miyom shechara beis hamikdash, from the day that the beis hamikdash was destroyed, afal bisha botla Sanhedrin, even though the Sanhedrin was nullified, arba misos lo botlu, but the four executions, the four death penalties in court, they were not nullified. The Gemara says, lo botlu, they weren't nullified, v'habotlu, but they were nullified. We don't have arba misos bezdin anymore. Ella, rather, what it means to say is, din arba misos lo botlu, that the carrying out of justice of the four misos, that was never nullified. That was still going to happen. It wouldn't happen through the court, but now it happens through HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, mishan es chayev skilo, let's say somebody is chayev stoning, o nofel min hagag, either he'll fall from a roof, which is part of stoning, o chayev dor sasu, or he'll be torn up by a wild animal. Mishan es chayev sreifa, if somebody is chayev sreifa, that's death by burning, o nofel bidleika, either he'll fall into a fire, o nachash makisha, or he'll be struck by a snake. Mishan is chayev hariga, if somebody is chayev hariga, which is being killed by the sword, o nimser lamalchus, either he'll be given over to the government, o listin boin olav, or robbers will come upon him. Mishan is chayev chenek, if somebody is chayev chenek, strangulation, o tovea banohar, either he will drown it in the river, o mes bisrunchi, or he'll die from diphtheria. And the idea over here is that you're always going to get the punishment that is fit. And in this particular situation, why is this person being struck by a snake? He's not chayiv sreifa. He's not chayiv to be burned. And the Gemara says, Amri, the answer to that, this individual, he actually committed another sin. And that sin was chayiv sreifa. And that was the greater of the punishments. Tiyamar Mark, as the master said, Mishan is chayiv shtei misos bezin. If somebody is chayiv two different death penalties of the court, nidon bechamur, he gets the stricter one. And that's exactly what happened in this instance. And Rashi explains, this murderer, he actually committed another sin, shayim achuyev sreifa, that was actually chayiv sreifa, burning, shi chamur, that's actually the stricter of the punishments. De'ila rotzech, because a murderer besayifu, he gets the punishment of sayif, that's beheading, umisa sayif kala. Death by beheading is actually less than death by burning, kedamrin and barba misos, like we say later on in Parak Arba Misos. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Me'omed, the Mishnah said that if you have testimony based on conjecture, that's not considered to be good testimony when it comes to capital cases. And the Gemara says, Bedine nefashas hu delo amdinan. The implication of the Mishnah is that by capital cases, we say that conjecture is no good. Ha bedine mamanis amdinan. But apparently, when it comes to monetary cases, conjecture would be accepted. Keman, who does our Mishnah follow? Rabbi Acha, it seems to follow Rabbi Acha. The Tanya, because we learned in a Brayso, Rabbi Acha says, Gomel ha'ocher ben hagamalim. Let's say you have a camel rampaging among the other camels, v'nimtza gamel harug betzido, and we find that there is a killed camel next to him. B'yadua shazeh harga, we know that this camel killed that camel. We're able to determine that based on conjecture, and so therefore our Mishnah seems to follow Rabbi Acha. But the Gemara says that's not necessarily true. V'letaimech, according to your reasoning, aid mi pied, it says in our Mishnah that you can't have one witness hear from another witness. To katani bedine nefashas, now that's being taught by capital cases. Hudalo amrinon ha bedine mamanis amrinon. Are we saying that only by capital cases you can't have aid mi pied? But you can have aid mi pied by dinei mamanis, by monetary cases? That's not true. But we learned in a Mishnah, Amar hu Amarli, if he says he told me shani chayiv lo, that he's chayiv to pay him money, or ish ploni Amarli shu chayiv lo, or he said so and so told me that this guy is chayiv to pay him money, lo Amar klum, that's nothing. At sheyomer b'fonenu hodalo shu chayiv lo masayim zuz, unless the witnesses say that in front of us he admitted to him that he's chayiv to pay him 200 zuz. And so Alma, so we see from that, afagav de psile b'dinei mamanis, even though aid mi pied is disqualified by monetary cases, amrinan luhu b'dinei nefashos, we still tell the witnesses by capital cases that aid mi pied is a problem. We don't mean that it's only a problem by dinei nefashos, we mean that it's also a problem by dinei nefashos. Hachanami, here also, when it comes to conjecture, afagav de psile b'dinei mamanis, it's entirely possible that even though conjecture is disqualified by monetary cases, amrinan luhu b'dinei nefashos, we still tell them in capital cases that it's problematic to rely on conjecture. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said we tell the Edom have a Yodim we should know, and we mentioned the episode of Cain killing Hevel. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda Bereider Rav Chia, Rav Yehuda the son of Rav Chia says, Melamed, this teaches the fact that it says blood, it says bloods in plural. It teaches Sha'asa Cain behevel achiv chaburos chaburos petzios petzios, that Cain made against Hevel many different kinds of wounds. He kept striking him in different places on his body. Because he didn't know from where the soul leaves. He didn't know how to kill a person until he hit him by his neck, and that's how he killed his brother Hevel. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yehuda Bereider Rav Chia, and Rabbi Yehuda the son of Rav Chia says, Miyom shepascha haaretz espia v'kibalto ledamo shel Hevel, from the day that the earth opened up its mouth and received the blood of Hevel, shuvlo pascha, it never opened up its mouth again. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, mikanafa haaretz zmiro shamanu tzvilat tzadik, it says from the corner of the earth we hear singing glory to the righteous. And the Gemara darshans miknafa haaretz, from the corner of the earth, v'lo mipi, it's not from the mouth of the earth. Again, the idea that the earth never opened up its mouth again. But the Gemara continues, Eisvei Chizkiah achiv Chizkiah, his brother, asked the following question. This is Chizkiah, the brother of Rabbi Yehuda, asking Rabbi Yehuda. The pasuk says, Vatiftach haaretz espia, it says that the earth opened up its mouth. That's what it says by Korach. What do you mean that the earth never opened its mouth again? Amarle said back to him, L'ra pascha, for something bad, it did open its mouth, like the episode by Korach, but L'tova lo pascha, but it would never open its mouth again for something good. That's what I mean to say when I say the earth never opened its mouth again. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabbi Yehuda Bereider Rabbi Chia, and Rabbi Yehuda the son of Rabbi Chia says, Golus mechaperes avon mechsa, exile is able to atone for half of a sin, because me'ikar ksiv, because originally it says by Kayin v'hayisi na v'nod, it says that I'm going to be na v'nod, meaning to say a fugitive and a wanderer, u'levasov ksiv, but at the end it says v'yasha be'eretz nod, that he settled in Eretz Nod. The Gemara understands that to be a reference to Nod, that he is a wanderer, but he's not a fugitive, his exile, the fact that he wandered, got rid of half of the punishment. punishment. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda says, Golus mechaperes shlosha devorim. Exile is able to atone for the following three things. Shenamar, as it says in the pasuk, Hayoshev bo'ir hazos, this is a pasuk in Yirmiyahu, those who stay in this city, it's talking about Yerushalayim, Yamas becherev berav uvedever, the person will die by the sword, by famine, and by plague. Those are the three things. V'hayotze, but one who leaves, that means to say one who's exiled, who leaves Yerushalayim, v'nafal ala kastim atzarim aleichem, and he goes to the kastim, yichya, he will live, v'haisalo nafsho l'sholol, his soul will be for spoil, meaning to say he'll be able to survive. That's the idea of mechaperes shlosha devarim, he'll avoid those three things of cherev, rav, and dever. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Golus mechaperes al hakol, exile can atone for everything. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, this is talking about Yechanya, it says, Kisvus o ish hazeh ariri, this person will be childless, Gever lo yitzlach biyamav, ki lo yitzlach mizaro, he won't be successful, from his children there won't be success, ish yoshev al kisei David, no one to sit on the throne of David, umoshel od b'Yehuda, to rule further in Yehuda, uvasar degala, yet after Yechanya was exiled, Ksiv, it says, uvnei Yechanya asir Shaltiel beno. It says that the sons of Yechanya captive, and it refers to Shaltiel, who was his son. And the Gemara explains the pasuk, Asir, what does it mean? The captive, she barto imo beveso asurin, that his mother became pregnant with him while in prison. Shaltiel sheshoslu kel shelo kederach hanishsolin. It means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu planted him not in the normal way that people, so to speak, are planted, because gemiri, because there's a tradition, sheino isha misaberes me'uma, that generally speaking, a woman cannot become pregnant if she has relations while she's standing up. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph.